welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. And of course, it would not be, it could not be. We cannot traverse the Seahawks multiverse without the protector of that multiverse, and that is Mr. Phil Leidick. Boys, we're out of Thanksgiving. We're straight into the holidays and Christmas time. This is the time of year that when you're sitting atop your division and you have a chance to go basically bury a team, I would call them a rival kind of, but go bury a team on their field. Man, you gotta take it by the horns and get it done. Brandon, are you fired up for another basically playoff game for our Seahawks this week?
There's a lot of things already buried there, so why don't we also bury the Cardinals? It would only make sense.
I love that. Mr. Phil, I'm excited because, look, you have the tall order of coming up with a brand new, another unique theme, and we just played this team 2 weeks ago, so I'm really excited to see where you take this thing as we get going. And Brandon, before we do pass it on over to Phil, and we look at our theme, and we look at our previously with the protector, any news or things you want to share with the flock that they should be doing as we get going today?
I would say that they should probably give us a like on the video, subscribe to it, and if they want to become a member of the flock, get in theflock.com. Those are three things. We'll keep it simple, and because I know Phil, he's probably keeping it simple, and it's just we're going to do Thanksgiving week again. Thanksgiving theme. How about that, Phil?
Play it over. Play it again. Play the hits, right?
Run it back.
Play the hits, Phil. So it's like, I know you do.
I do too. I would be okay with it, actually. I think
Thanksgiving every week with our flockers, and people are like, "Oh, then it won't be special." No, it can be really, really special. So, Mr. Phil, where do you want to take us this week? What did you see versus the Vikings versus the Cardinals? That was a weird game. Cardinals should have won, but I was happy they didn't. I love the purple people eaters coming out on top. And what did you see, my man?
Yeah, I mean, a couple weeks ago, we called for getting a good Seahawk winning streak going, ending the winning streak of the Cardinals, and now they've developed their own little losing streak that we got started for them. They definitely looked like the better team, specifically for 2/3 of the game. I mean, they were pretty well dominating. The game was pretty clean. It looked like real football. It was quite the contrast to watching our game versus the Jets, which was so different. So much special teams wackiness and things. This game was pretty smooth. I'll talk about their defense. Collier had a sack and a half that I saw. I don't know if they gave him 2 or 1.5. I didn't check the stats, but he had one alone. They brought some wild blitzes that resulted in 4 sacks. I would say when they didn't blitz, their pressure wasn't awesome, but they were pretty skilled on just showing up and messing with them. Darnold looked not good for the first 2/3 of the game, so I couldn't tell if that was the Cardinals or just Darnold being off, maybe a little bit of both. The Vikings started getting their run game going. They remembered they had one, then did a lot of play action. Darnold looked good in play action. That changed the game as far as from my point of view. The offense, Murray, of course, he loves his tight ends. He was using all of them, loves throwing to Connor, looked super accurate for most of the game. And he was also running a lot. He hadn't been doing that a lot this season, but he was really running well. Then the Vikings started spying him. That kind of ended that. They started getting pressure. I didn't identify how they began getting pressure because they weren't early. They just figured something out that I missed. And then he started throwing some picks, and he started putting the ball in danger all of a sudden. Harrison earlier had a nice touchdown catch. Keep an eye on him. McBride's got 1 million catches going between playing us, but they haven't won, but he sure is catching a lot of balls. Looks really good. Their O-line was giving up no sacks until the final drive. They didn't give one. In fact, when they were choosing to run, they were running pretty well. So big difference, I think, was they kind of got a little bit away from that, and the Vikings started getting pressure on Murray. Did you guys notice anything different?
I just go back to a couple weeks ago, and because it really did seem like this Cardinals offensive line had been their strength, and then even watching it against the Vikings, it continued to be the strength, but we did so well against them. So that's the biggest question I have going back is, can we repeat success against a Cardinals offensive line that has generally been really good this year.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah,
the same. How about
that's.
you, Clinton?
I think we're spot on there. I think we're buzzing around the same thing. At the very bottom of the screen on youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. Hope you're watching it out there. The last bullet is the old line. The Cardinals old line had no sacks until the final drive. Well, when we last played the Cardinals just 2 weeks ago, yes, it was at home, et cetera, all good. We had 2 sacks in the first series. So Mafe had one and Leo had one. It's a tale of what are we going to see? So even though we just saw them, I think there's a really wide array of what do we think these outcomes are going to look like? And I think that's going to be fun to explore as we get into it today, Phil.
Which means we get to our theme, and it was going to be a struggle to discover one. We just played them, but thankfully the Macdonald family came through, and we were going to celebrate their brand new baby Jack joining this lovely family into our Seahawk family. And so Jack was born, which means we need a baby delivery based theme. So our categories, as Clinton will go first, are delivery, and then of course Mrs. Macdonald dealt with a lot of pain to bring this joyous baby into their life. So pain, joy. Then you hear crying. That's a good thing. When the baby's born, you hear that. And then the Macdonalds, of course, this week aren't sleeping. So we're going to talk about sleep or a birth, of course, which is what it's all about. Clinton, game 2 against the Cardinals. Game 2 in just 8 days, right? Or am I wrong? No, 15 days.
Well,
yeah, math is terrible right now. It's too early. As we celebrate baby Jack, Clinton, where do we want to go first?
Well, first is always kudos for you for digging deep and be like, okay, what are we going to hit us with? We see it live. Remember, we don't know what the questions will be. We don't know what the theme will be. So the folks that are watching it right along with us. And this is a great theme. So congrats to the Macdonald family. There's nothing like it. All right. Let's see. You got some great categories there. I think I'm going to go. I don't know. My heart is calling me to cry for some reason. Probably just because it's it seems negative, but like you said, you need to hear it. You hear it. You get that sigh of relief, and away we go with life. Cry. Let's go.
Well, this crying would be negative for one person. It could be positive for us. What if, Clinton, we can get number 1 to revert back to Poutler Murray? He's been pretty positive this year. Maybe he's grown up. I don't know. But can we frustrate him again? Maybe a third game in a row could really get him back to who he has been. How can Coach Mike and our D frustrate Mr. Murray the most in this matchup?
Yeah, very cool. Love it. I think we just in the preamble as we got going there, we were discussing that we had success early. So it's a bit of a cop out to say, well, go have success early. That's not a good enough answer. I think what we're seeing these last few weeks, last 4 weeks specifically, is just that maturation of what Macdonald wants to do on defense, and a lot of the sim pressures that can confuse quarterbacks. And talked about it earlier in the season that if and when we could speed up the quarterback's clock, they can make what are very bad decisions. I don't know about you guys. I mean, if you had a guess, just real quickly, how many times have you watched the Leo pick 6? Brandon, how many times have you now, ingested that into your veins?
Easily more than a half dozen times.
All right. How about you, Phil? How many times have you? Yeah, I got it on repeat, and I'm out on Twitter a lot. So there's all these different angles and fan angles and all that jazz. But it's a consequence of confusing Rodgers. And Rodgers is, say what you will about the guy, he's still one of the more cerebral quarterbacks who understands how to diagnose things. And he got. He was completely fooled on that play. Obviously did not expect Leo to be dropping there. The last play of the game, we highlighted it on 3 and 3 out, the last defensive play of the game. Kobe Bryant comes off the edge. Kobe never blitzes. It's just this full allotment, Phil, that we're now seeing. That's it's a little bit of logic, like the if P then Q. The right guys are in place. Therefore, Macdonald has the confidence to deploy them in some unconventional ways, which is the staple of his defense. To frustrate him, to answer the question quickly, I think we got to just keep leaning into that. It's working. It's clearly working. Let's confuse Kyler, because a confused Kyler, I think, leads to a very frustrated Kyler. And I don't think it's particularly that hard to confuse him compared to some of the other quarterbacks we've been facing.
So Murray's hoping to go home and, have some goodness, have some happiness finally. How can we get him a third loss and really frustrate him? Get him back to whining over there on the sideline, Brandon.
Yeah, well, I think Clinton was kind of getting at this a little bit. One of the things that Kyler does, though, when teams are lighting him up, especially when it comes to blitz rate and that sort of thing, he just decides to tuck it and run. And so generally when he's blitzed, though, that means there's one less defender that he has to worry about, which opens up the run for him. And that's where we see him have a lot of his success when defensive line's getting pressure on him. And one of the cool things that I think that we saw in the last game that it's going to be really important that the team continues is that when they can get that pressure with just the 4, then it makes it really tough for him to have success in the run game. And so you're taking away that part of Kyler's kind of escape of, hey, if I'm getting pressure, I'm going to run it. And that's generally where they have some of their big explosive plays. And yeah, can they continue to get pressure with a really good offensive line for the Cardinals with just 4 guys and do it in a way that keeps Kyler secure in that pocket?
Love it. That was the game he struggled most, no doubt. We did better against him than the Vikings did. There is no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Can we repeat?
They had to blitz him more, I think, to get that extra pressure.
Yeah. Brandon, we have 5 choices on the board. Your pick.
Let's go with birth.
The birth. Okay, let's rip the Band-Aid off, deal with the big issues in this game. This game, of course, has massive ramifications for either team gaining a playoff berth. I think it's like your odds go up triple or even quadruple for either team if they win. What if special teams makes the difference? Let's discuss some of the possibilities, some of the concerns around special teams in this matchup, starting with you, Brandon.
It has to be a big concern coming off of the previous game because now one of your kick returners no longer on the team. D. Williams, he may not be back there. And so just because they make a change does not mean it's going to be a successful change, right? Yeah. If Kenny McIntosh is back there, if Zach Charbonnet, 2 guys who haven't done it much this season, can they immediately turn around and have success? It's going to be a question mark for the team. And it's probably going to be one that I would expect the Cardinals to test us on, right? Because after what you see, then you're like, well, we're just going to kick it to them every time and see what happens. So you're not wrong about the ramifications playoff wise. I think for either team, it was in the 60 percentile for whichever team got the win, and then down in the teens for the team that gets the loss in terms of making the playoffs. So big critical game, and it could come down to a part of the game that we rarely talk about.
How about you, Clinton? Special teams, what if they make the difference in this massive game we play on Sunday? I mean, our coverage wasn't even good last week, so.
Right. I think I've got really good news for our flockers that's going to make them happy. This game will look nothing like the Jets game at all. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Like there's some, regression to the mean type things. And then there's just some factors that are just not going to let that happen again. You just said at the end there, you're like, oh, even our kick coverage. Out of all of them, that's the most concerning because I don't expect, Laviska's gone, so I don't expect a dude to not be able to catch kickoffs or self-fumble when he does catch one or pick one back up off the carpet.
Didn't Bobo even look bad on tackling?
Well, Bobo looked not great on tackling. Kenny McIntosh, I think took a couple of bad angles as well.
Yeah.
But here's why it won't matter as much as it did last week. It was freaking cold there, guys. It was, and people were like, oh, I can't believe Myers couldn't get it to the end zone. His 54-yard field goal eked over. He put everything he could. That's about as far as a human's going to kick a ball in that condition. It wasn't specifically windy. There was some wind, but it was cold. It was really cold, like 36 degrees. And the shade was coming over the stadium, so it was probably a little colder. So he was not reaching the end zone. So the very good news is this game's in the desert. Whatever they're doing with that stadium, it's going to be warm regardless. The ball's going to travel. We may see a kick return. So as long as we're sound on one kick return, fine. Everything else is going to be sailing into the end zone. That's just how I see that part. So a non-factor, your dynamic off goes to die in the desert because it's just warm. Fine, let's take it. The other side of the stuff is we're swapping people out. We're just not going to allow LaVisca back there. We see Sharps taking punt returns in practice. They'll figure it out. They will not tin cup this thing. So it's going to be very, very different. And that's to our upside. The last thing is it's Myers' good year. Even year Myers. Let's keep on rock with even year Myers. I like their kicker, the guy Ryland. I think he's a rookie. He's been good for them, but whatever. It's an Arizona kicker. That's as much as I'm going to say about him. But even year Myers for the win.
Second year player for Ryland.
Second year, okay.
Yeah, he was started with the Patriots last year. And
Gotcha.
And then I have to pile onto this because it wasn't mentioned. Our Seahawks are never going to punt because, we want to preserve Michael Dixon. And when we never punt, we'll probably score 50.
Okay.
Good point. Good point. I did forget about the Dixon back, spasmy thing that's going on. So interesting. We'll see if that does flare up and causes us to go for on 4th down and 6 from our own side of the field again, because that was spicy, right? So good question, Phil.
No punting. I'm fine with no punting. I won't say what I was going to say. So we'll after Brandon kicked that in, we'll just keep going. Here we go. Berth is gone. So we are back to Clinton with 4 choices available.
All right. Sometimes you need a special delivery. Back in the day, a little Domino's, 30 minutes are free. Amazon nowadays, the thing's here before you know it. Let's go with some special delivery. Let's go.
Okay. Well, we did talk about the other quarterback. This category brings us to our quarterback, Clinton. What if Geno can deliver the ball on time? I feel like his timing's kind of been suffering compared to how smooth it was earlier in the season. How can Grubb help him get back into a sweet rhythm? He has great targets out there, but it's just been, even when he's had time, I feel like his timing hasn't quite been there. Maybe you disagree completely with my premise, but wouldn't you like to see him just letting her rip a little bit more?
I think the longer developing plays have suffered from either he runs out of time or our dudes are not schemed open. They're not open. I don't think it's on Geno so much. I don't think he's missing reads. I don't think it's like, oh, that was there and he didn't fire the ball. I don't think that's the case. To answer how it gets better for this game, I've been harping on JSN that I think he's the wide receiver 1. This is no knock on DK. I think DK is a 1 and a 1A, and he stretches the field differently than JSN does. They're very complementary, actually. It's a good problem to have both of them. Last game, we saw DK with 9 targets to JSN's 4 targets. DK had a first read target rate of like around 40% again. JSN was down to 11%. JSN was 4 of 4 for 70-something yards. DK was 4 of 9.
Yeah.
The game previous to that, it was not fully inverted, but it was JSN 7 targets with a much higher first read rate. DK had 5 or 6 targets, and he had a lower first read rate. Okay. So what does that all mean, and kind of put it in a bowl together? I expect because of the way the Jets were playing, they thought they could take some more one-on-one shots on the outside with DK. And I think that's what showed. They were like, we could win these, right? And they hit a couple. In fact, one of them should have been a touchdown. It was underthrown by Geno. I think we invert that again. So it becomes more of a JSN heavy game, and they're shorter passes by definition. And it's a little bit easier for Geno to get into that rhythm. That's, I think, going to be the biggest factor to help him get back into more rhythm, Phil, versus it feeling quite disjointed again. There's some other players I really, really like that I'm seeing some emerging, but I will leave the meat on the bone for Brandon because that wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, and Brandon, I feel like Geno is mostly really accurate, aside from the one that Clinton brought up on underthrowing that pass. He's had some incredibly accurate throws. It just feels like the timing, even with that one, maybe that's what it was, just the timing isn't in rhythm right now. Can Grubb help him get into rhythm, Brandon?
Yeah, I think that, and really, if you go back and look at the game last week against the Jets, I have to get really nitpicky in Geno's game because there was the underthrown touchdown, there was the pass out
Fant
to the tight end in the end zone that was
should have been a
just a little
touchdown.
bit ahead of Fant that
Yep.
could have been a touchdown, and really his misses to DK, 2 of them came in the end zone, and a couple were deep shots down the sideline. So it's I think Clinton's onto something in terms of trying to feed JSN more. I wonder if part of it was trying to get the run game and or to get K9 into some of those positions of receiving rather than using JSNs, and I do like that a little bit too. But I think one of the things that can help him get into a rhythm in this game is to continue then to build on some of the success that we saw with the run game and using that to help their play action game, because one of the things we didn't do was run it up the middle against this Cardinals defense, and they had success. And I think that, again, if you can have success against the middle of the Jets defense, I think you can have success running against the interior of this Cardinals defense too. And so I think that shift is going to help with the play action game, help with Geno and timing, because he's really good in play action, and that's how Grubb can help him.
Yeah, I wonder if Geno's trying so hard to get the run game going that he's forgetting about his big job of hitting receivers on time. I don't know, but there was a lot of effort in the Jets game, not so much in the Cards game, but in the Jets game to try to force the run game, I thought. Did you guys get that sense a little bit?
I think Geno is I think he's being a little bit more careful, and that's okay. And with the defense playing, one of the things that Geno talked about, one of the things that DK talked about was seeing a lot more zone coverage. And so with the zone coverage combined with Geno being a little more careful with the football, I think that could be leading to where, some of the disconnect that you're seeing, Phil.
And careful can sound nicer than hesitant, so I'll take careful. Okay, well, that's the Geno discussion. Let's see what happens this week. We will take delivery off the board, and Brandon has pain, joy, and sleep to choose from.
Yes. Let us go to pain.
Okay.
Pain games, where it all started.
Pain games. I don't know if anybody out there listening remembers the pain games, but we did have that. And that was the first time we ever did any kind of show thing together, was pain games.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Doing live Spotify shows.
Yeah. I don't know how many were on there, but I think there's a few lists that'll be watching this that did hear those way back then. I think that's possible. Brandon, what if the Hawks can inflict a bit of pain upon the Cards? Who is most likely to bring some of the big hits you're looking to see in this matchup?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think that the way that Leonard Williams is playing, Phil, is that he can be the one to continue to inflict pain, because the dude is hot right now. Yeah. And we've seen it back-to-back weeks. Part of me is a little bit disappointed, guys, that he won the Defensive Player of the Week, because I wanted like another week of Leonard Williams stewing in not winning Defensive Player of the Week and taking it personally. And so then he can come back again with a vengeance. I don't think he needs that. I don't think he's going to be content with just one weekly play, one weekly win in Player of the Week. I think that he continues this streak because the man just knows what he's doing right now, and he can take that out and inflict pain on his whoever he's matched up with on the offensive line, and then also going after Kyler Murray, flushing him. Because we saw Kyler he was outside the pocket. Leonard Williams was running him down, and Kyler said, I'm not even going to throw it away. I'm just going to sack myself short of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he's the best defensive lineman, definitely in the division now. The bad man has retired. Leo has replaced him. Maybe he's the best defensive lineman in the conference. I don't know. But Clinton, I love the Leo idea. Do you have somebody that you're hoping to see inflict some serious pain on the Cards this week?
Yeah, I got a couple. I got a few. I'm going to stick with the defensive side because it feels like over there with big hits, although you can interpret those words and spin them as you want to. With that, So Mafe had a sack early last game, and between Mafe and then there was also that time that Leo split out wide and also beat the left tackle. So I'm interested, and they were kind of blindside hits. Two of them were like, oh, we got Kyler did not expect them, and he's lucky to hold on to the ball. So what I want to see is, or I would love to see, is a combination of getting at least one more blindside Kyler hit where he's not expecting it, and maybe cause a little fumble this time, because often that's where you can get the fumble. And Leo would have had a third or third and a half sack, if not for like a fraction of a second, because the ball came out and it was ruled an incomplete pass. It was correctly ruled an incomplete pass, but it's a eighth of a second away from being another strip sack, a third and a half sack for Leo. So some blindside hits against Murray would be amazing. I also want to give some love to Julian Love. I think he's playing phenomenal football. He was a Pro Bowler last year. He had the splashy plays down the stretch, which I think probably elevated him. I thought he played well last year, but then he had the big interceptions and then became a Pro Bowler. This year, I think he's playing authentically Pro Bowl level safety, and his hits are there as well. So it's just that combination. We're deploying people and putting them into, whether it's Love or Spoon, putting them into the Swiss Army knife role sometimes, which again just goes back to what I said earlier, maturation of what Macdonald wants to go do there. So look for Love to be like on time with some big licks. And that's what I'd look for. I mean, look, there's stuff we could talk about on the offensive side too, but we got more things to get to. So let's get some big licks from our safeties.
I kind of love how McDonald's scheme allows football players to be good football players to be great football players, and great football players to just do amazing game-wrecking things. He just kind of sets them up to do that. So
somehow Kobe Bryant has jumped 2 levels. Like
he skipped one of the levels.
But it's a really brilliant point there, Phil. Like, it's a great point, because last year when we got McDonald in the offseason, one of the things we were kind of on about was like, well, look, he gets the most out of the Van Noys. He gets the most out of Clowney, has his best year. Beautiful point that he gets the most out of his dudes. They elevate, and we're seeing it. I love it.
Okay, so you get to go next. We have Joy or we have Sleep, both dealing with childbirth.
And both are very similar. You get joy from sleep when you're a new parent.
Yeah, when that kid finally gets the 4 hours or so straight, you're like, oh, this is lovely. Let's go with Sleep. You've convinced me.
Okay, we need to talk about the Cardinals, so let's do it. What if McBride and Connor, as you know, our coach has not been sleeping a lot. They've been running through Coach Mike's mind. Now, there's a difference here. Last time he did so well against Connor, but it's another game, and adjustments will be made. So he hasn't been sleeping. He's been thinking about them. How do you expect him to handle these 2 key difference makers on the Cardinals offense? Again, one we had success, one we didn't, but we still held them to 6 points. What do you think about this one, Clinton?
I think if Macdonald could sign today for the same outcome or similar outcomes, he would take it. Where Connor gets basically nothing and McBride goes off between the 20s. Okay, fine. So I think they're going to try, and first and foremost, it's still the offense when they're playing well. The offense still runs through Connor. That's what they want to do and want to be. Now, by the way, there might be some more Trey Benson this week, just because he's a pretty effective back. Also, maybe he only had 7 rushes for 8 yards last time. So maybe they're like, we need to make that kind of change and just change it up and give them a different back to look at who might try to attack the outsides. But I would just say good luck to that. I think we're faster, and I think we have more talent across our defensive line and our new linebacking core and our safeties and DBs who come down and play de facto linebacker. So good luck. If I'm McDonald, I don't know how you straight out replicate what we got versus Connor, but that would be, it's a little bit of a concentrate all firepower on the nearest Star Destroyer type thing. That's the thing to stop. You can live with McBride going bananas. If he's the one, and because of that, Marvin Harrison Jr., gets 4 or 5 targets, Wilson gets a couple of deep shots that he's pretty good at as a wide receiver too. Guys, I think you could live with all of that. So I'm not trying to give a non-answer. I'm just trying to hone in on how do you like do what you did last time. I know it's easier said than done, but I wouldn't change much. I would not change much to say they need to execute better. The Cardinals need to execute better, a heck of a lot better. I don't think we need to change very much.
Okay.
Maybe I'm being naive though, guys. I don't know.
So I coached soccer high school, and if we just defeat somebody and control the whole game, well, even if the talent is like it's within range, the talent variance, but if we defeat someone and we try the same thing, we will get killed the next time because they'll basically completely game plan against what just happened. So I don't know how easily, and I've been on the other side. It's very easy to come in after you lost by a goal and switch the game plan up and just focus on how to stop what they did well and overcome where their weakness was because you get all that time to prepare. I would love it. I think we'd all take it to hold Connor to the same outcome. I just wonder how likely that is to just let's go do the same thing. Is that possible, Brandon? What do you think? Maybe I'm completely off on this.
Well, I think that it's going to change up how the Cardinals choose to attack the defense early. And one of the things that because I think it's easy to go into this game and go, oh, yeah, well, let McBride be the one who beats you because you need to focus on Connor. So if I'm the Cardinals, I think, well, let's go to McBride early because I think we saw a lot of the McBride yardage come late in the game, at least half of it on some of those late drives. If I were the Cardinals, I'd say, well, if they're going to focus on Connor, then let's go to McBride early and start opening things up that way. So I think the early focus for the Macdonald defense, not that stopping Connor isn't going to be important, but look for them to go to McBride early and try and get the offense moving through him early. And so I think it's going to come down to a lot of Julian Love and what he can do, and if they're going to have him one-on-one with McBride or if they're going to give him help. And I think it's going to come down to stopping McBride early for the defense.
I do want to ask Phil. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
I would say this game does provide a lot of interesting strategy things when you consider how well the defense played last time. Like, can it be repeated? Will there be, the next play in the chess match? What's that going to be like? What were you going to say, Clinton?
I was going to ask you, Phil, like if they try to do what Brandon's suggesting, right? Like that means just more through the air, perhaps more horizontal stuff also, maybe just some more stuff that's a little quicker and shorter for Kyler to get into a rhythm. Do you think that's playing into our hands though? Like last time it's like, hey, shut down Connor and you shut down the Cardinals. And that was 100% correct. They scored 6 points. So if they take a different tact, and the tact is we're going to pass so that we could, earn the right to run. I mean, do you think they're putting themselves behind the 8 ball as opposed to saying, well, we're going to get beefy or we're going to run the ball no matter what?
My concern for the Cardinals, they do that is that they're only going to get field goals because, McBride doesn't score touchdowns. He moves the ball down the field and then they get to the red zone and they have to figure something out. And if it's not Connor, or I guess against the Vikings, they had that one nice red zone play where they were able to isolate the rookie, and he made a nice catch where they threw it up for him. But I don't know what I've seen that's great inside the 20 for the Cardinals other than Connor, right? And so then they're going to have to all of a sudden switch back to Connor when they get in close and not been using him. Will that work? I don't know. Maybe Brandon's idea, their pass sets up the run. People have been successful with that before, but I think we'd see it coming. When McBride catches his next red zone touchdown, it will be his first red zone touchdown this year. So
they've had success though outfield goaling teams, and they nearly how they got the win over the Vikings. So
field goals are points, and the way the Seahawks have been scoring, a few of them could make it tough for us if the special teams helps them out as well.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Joy.
Last category is joy, which is where Brandon will go What if we can find more joy in our run game, Brandon? How can these players get K9 going against this opponent? We saw a couple sparks last game. We've talked about this a little on the show, but how can it happen? K9 still hasn't had a breakout game, so since Denver, we haven't really had one.
No, we haven't. And you're starting to see like the potential there. I think this offensive line, Phil, wants to be a physical downhill running offensive line just based on what we saw last week, because they had success doing it. Whether it was K9, whether it was Charbonnet, we saw them break off 6, 7, 8, 9-yard runs. We saw a 22-yard run that got called back to holding, unfortunately.
Mhm.
And so I think it's just going to come down to whether or not they can build off of what we saw last week against the Jets. Can they keep this running game going downhill? And I just think that that's where we're going to see them have success, because they aren't, when they get out into the onto the edges, we see a lot of whiffs in the blocking game. We just need to make it easy on this offensive line. Go straight ahead, make a hole. And I think that with Laumea coming back for another game, that's probably where his strength is too. And one of the reasons why that we're going to see a second straight start from him is because I think they can get that push on the offensive line. Now, I know there's some question about whether or not Abe Lucas is we'll see how he practices throughout the week. It was a little bit concerning to see him out of practice this week, and that could end up being a big question mark going into the game. But yeah, pound the rock up the middle with K9.
Pound it straight forward, force K9 to maybe one cut, maybe no cuts, maybe he just runs straight. I don't know. Clinton, how do you think we can get K9 some joy finally, some thrilling runs for us?
Yeah, and the nice part about this joy is this is joy that will spread, right? Like if
Yes.
K9 has joy, because K9's been bottled up, and you can see he's frustrated. You can see it. It's like just wants a crack or two. And Brandon talked about the one where he had the nice 22-yard run, and it was called back on a hold. It's like, dang it. But it looked good. It looked fast. It was hitting. It's like, all right, there was a hold across the field basically that would not have interrupted that, but that's the way it goes. Brandon also hit on, look, Abe Lucas is a must. It's an absolute must. We record this on Thursdays. He did not practice yesterday, and it was DNP knee. So of course we could assume it's the same knee that's been giving them problems. Let's see. Hopefully today's report, and then Friday we get something like a limited, and then he's full, and away we go, and we could just wipe our brow and say, phew. The other way, a little bit more technical, is Seattle was also having that success up the middle, and they were running a lot of duo. So duo, and I would say a layperson's term, the way I would see it is, duo signifies you're doubling on purpose, right? So it's a lot, meaning Laumea and Abe were doubling their guy. And then once they have success there, the guard will release to the next level. And so Laumea is athletic enough, and he's kicking off, and then he's finding a linebacker or a safety who's basically playing de facto linebacker to go at the second level. We saw that. So we saw a good amount of that kind of execution. And so more of that duo, and just some of you talked about timing earlier, Phil, like Geno's timing. Another aspect of timing is this partnership, which is brand new. Like these dudes are entangled, right? So Abe and Laumea, and can we go off of that right side, and can we get more, just even more fluid, more timing where they're running those duo packages, they're getting that push, and then Laumea is athletic enough to get to the second level. That is a recipe, or at least an environment where K9 can go do his thing, have the joy, and then spread the joy. How's that for you, man?
I like it. I think we can have some success against this opponent if we do it right, and we don't tip our hand to where Buddha knows exactly what we're doing and he just tells all his buds and shut us down. That's been a little bit of my concern. Well, I got to
really,
go into fast. What's that?
sorry, one real quick point there too for the folks. We had Griff Sturgeon on the podcast not too long ago, and he was talking at that point about the defensive fronts. And he's recently been sharing on Twitter. He's like, look, nobody's buying our play action, and he diagnosed it and said because when we are aligned a certain way with either the weak side or the strong side where the tight end is, it's a big time signifier whether or not we're actually going to hand the ball off. Again, I'm breaking it down in a lay way for me to understand it. He's like, we are tipping our hat when we're doing play action, and the linebackers are not believing it whatsoever. They know what's up based on our alignment, which is like, okay, let's fix that. So to your point, Phil, also like just something to watch. Like that should not be, somebody on Twitter should not be able to point out that, hey, because of the yes, we're tipping where the tight end is positioned. We're fully tipping whether or not this is going to be a handoff or a play action pass. That's crazy, huge. But it's happening. Huge. So yeah. So something to watch. And but I do think we'll learn. I do think the progress is coming for sure.
I don't know if that can be fixed in 1 week. Like, is that a next year thing? Can we solve not giving away?
It's just tendencies. It's just giving away patterns.
You break your own tendencies by either running or passing out of the ones that they're guessing on, because you get them thinking that, oh, well, I can take an educated guess that I'm 80% sure this is going to be a run play. And then you go, oh, nope, it's a pass play because we're out of this formation. And now we've got you fooled. And now we've got a big play. And then they go, oh, everything I ever thought about this offense was wrong.
I love it. It's just a long play.
The formation ones we can fix, but the approach of the O linemen, they've got to mentally not give things away, right? Is any of that?
I don't know. Could be.
It's more down to formation than anything that the individual players are doing, I think.
Well, we'll get to your gentlemen's wishes, your What If Super Hawk in a moment. We have a record number of flockers throwing things into the wishing well. So nice. I am going to go quick. Mental mark if there's one you want to comment on, but I'm going to read through these as fast as I can. Carly has one. No injuries in Arizona. We didn't talk about that. She feels like that is the catfish field, the cursed catfish field. 0 injuries. We've had a good year for that, so let's not ruin it by going there. Josh DeHuman, hold the Cards to under 100 yards rushing. I would love that. Amy designed Pete's Beach House, be able to gain a single yard. I think she's referring to the goal line scenario we just faced against the Jets. Frost, K9 breaks 100 yards and finds the end zone. That's a big wish, but we would love it. JSN, Jiggy with it. Try a quarterback sneak if we have it on 1st and goal. Normal catfishing football. Rising Hakra, the Seahawks offense to start gelling like the Seafence. So yes, the Seafence is gelling. We'd love to see our offense be able to shine once again. Nate shoots. Seahawks run more in the A, B, and C gaps. This is Brandon's hope. And less outside runs and more runs to the right side. That's Clinton's hope. So they pretty much were mind melding with you ahead of time there, Nate. PNW Fan 82. My wish this week is for a competent run game equaling out to a competent offense to go along with our stellar defense. Go Hawks. I think we all agree with that. Gamer Hawk. My wish to have a dominant special teams game. Pin the Cards on the 1-yard line leading to a safety and a punt or kick return. That sounds like a cool wish. B-Wags Biceps. My wish is for a big DK game. I've been loving the rise of JSN, but I miss DK torching dudes. Nate has another one. Opening drive touchdown. Jay in Alaska, we're in control from the first play of the game, and I don't have to stress over us getting the victory. Kind of like last game, mostly. Witherfork, Tyler touchdown. Delwyn to beat the Cards and further locking down our place at the top of the NFC West. Great conclusion there to these many wishes. Any thoughts, Clinton, first? Something you want to mention about any of these wishes?
I love the 4th down ones or the, hey, go get a yard ones. And there's a couple there. So like that, because we really need to be able to do that. You just have to have it. Also, I just want to wish Jay in Alaska a very happy day, because a non-stressed out Seahawks game this time of the year, that's not happening. It's not, we're not controlling the game from Jump Street. It's not going to happen. I love it, but but not going to happen, Jay. So good day to you, sir.
It's a good wish though. I also
Great
wish for it.
Great wish.
It could happen. There's that 1% chance out there.
True.
Any Brandon you have to mention?
I'm really with Amy on the idea of, man, can we just punch it in from, like, if we're in the within the 5 yards of the end zone, can we just punch it in? That's what I want to see.
I
It
love
would feel
the
so
tight end,
good,
the
right,
rollout
guys?
Tight end pass. I love that.
Oh, that was
play.
beautiful.
Geno just missed it. That was one
Well,
of the
yeah.
ones I wanted.
But the Barner one was there. Obviously not. It wasn't too close. It was like from the 12 or whatever, wherever they were. That was great. But I mean, there's nothing better, right? Finishing a drive with your running back, just
Push.
plowing it. Oh, no. Tush push is gross. Should be banned. Hate it. Hate
Wow.
it. Not even a play.
Wow. Okay.
Hate it.
Jeez.
Should be banned.
It's old school football.
Nah.
There's a
it's
take
not.
I didn't
It's
even
terrible.
know. It's like everybody doing their best to force that ball across the goal line.
It's
awesome.
gross. Yeah. Terrible football. Not even football.
No, that's a whole debate I didn't even see coming. I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't know that was out there. Okay,
It's
Clinton.
not a debate. It's you and I are right, Phil, and Clinton's off in nonsense world.
It's somebody that doesn't own an iPhone would come up with that take, I'm pretty sure.
Love it.
Clinton, who's your wish this week? We haven't been
Yeah.
doing good on getting them, so let's get one.
Yeah, no, I have not. I mentioned him earlier, and I'm going to go back to it. And I like to be specific, because why not? Look, I want Mafe with a strip sack. That's what I want.
Okay.
I want the caboodle, Phil, not just a sack. I want Mafe, strip sack. Murray is, he turns the ball over at a pretty good clip. Sometimes he holds the ball like a loaf of bread, and he didn't see 2 times last time blindside sacks. Let's get Mafe with the strip sack, and that'll make me so happy.
It's a big wish. I'd give you any strip sack. If you said strip sack, I'd say that's a great wish. If it's a new,
Yeah, but then it's not a
Jenna
super
coming
hawk.
back.
I
Okay,
need a
you're
super
right. Yeah.
hawk. I need
You're
a
playing
so
fair. We like that you're playing fair, but I'd
Thanks.
love a strip sack, period. Brandon, you're what if super hawk?
Yeah, I'm going to stay on the defensive side too. And I'm very tempted to get greedy, Phil, because we've had back-to-back pick 6 weeks. And I would love to go for the trifecta back-to-back.
Careful.
But I will just say Julian Love interception.
Ooh, I
We're
love
due
it.
for it. Julian Love defensive player of the week type performance. If he's getting an interception, it's going to put him in the conversation. Of course, if he gets a pick 6, it'll put him over the top. But yeah, Julian Love interception for me.
So not Leo's hat trick of 2 sack games. Nobody went to the Leo double sack 3 in a row.
I mean, how super is that? That's just
That's too easy,
he's just going to do that.
Yeah,
he's just gonna grab. I just love to see Leo just reach out. Somebody's blocking him, and he just grabs him with a couple fingers and just throws down that little man. That's the kind of stuff. Just like he just grabbed a doll from a little girl and just tossed it on the ground like a bully. That's the sack I want to see.
Nice. Love it. Love that we get the extra wish. Like, let's put that one in the let's document that one, Brandon. That's great.
Brandon, you've doubled up Clinton now, but not in a terribly skillful fashion. But you did sneak your way into a win by a prediction. But you were closer. DK just missed it barely on the catches. I think that's where I'm trying to remember what the wish was.
I think he was
lots of targets.
I predicted 6 catches, and he had 4 catches, and then he had 2 pass interference penalties that gave us first downs. And so, if PIs counted for catches, I know they don't, but if they did, I would have had it.
Then Lockett would have a lot more yards to his name if they did. And Brandon, Clinton missed the score prediction 2 points low. You were 1 point high. So you snuck your way into widening.
Leonard Williams was my MVP by blocking that extra point.
Oh, wow. Love it.
All you need is one more win. Clinton's got to win out here to get this done.
Easy.
Clinton, go ahead and predict your score.
All right. The good times keep rolling. It might not be easy. It probably will feel a little ugly. I still like our team. 20-17. Our Hawks go to the desert. They get the dub. One thing I'll say quickly about the Cardinals, we didn't really mention it yet, is that they're getting a little healthier, right? We talked about they got a couple of dudes back. Specifically, they got back their safety, Jalen Thompson, and they got Darius Robinson, their first rounder, now playing, I think, the second game. And he's been effective, not gaudy stats, but effective. And, I think the Cards will be tough. With that, guys, I think we play really good football in the desert. It's a very good record last couple of years. I think we get another W, close one, but I think it's ours.
It's been a while since the Cards have been able to beat us. Are you predicting the streak continues, Brandon?
I am, and I am predicting a score of more than a touchdown. A touchdown and a 2-point conversion, 28-20. Our Seahawks get the win.
28-20. So they got I'd
like that.
Them getting 2 touchdowns against us will be surprising to me, but maybe they will. You guys have both have them getting
one
2
could be a
touchdowns
special teams touchdown.
Special team, yeah, I was like, then I just thought of that. There's a chance it'll be a special teams touchdown. So I could see that. Anything else on this matchup?
And who said anything about touchdowns, Phil? That was 6 field goals and a safety for them to get to 20.
Okay.
Love mathing over there.
That's weird.
Not about this matchup. I will quickly say that I think the Bills-Rams game, besides it just being an interesting game, that to me it's so huge. It's such a big piece. People are only talking about really Seahawks-Cardinals. Why? I don't know. Like no love for the Rams whatsoever, and I'm not about to give them love. I just think they're still a pretty solid football team.
We want to keep love on our team. All the loves.
Yes, correct. All the loves. The Jordans, the Julians, all the loves. But Phil, we need the Bills to do it one more time. We need the Bills to just keep beating NFC West teams and go into LA and beat the Rams. If the Rams could somehow squeak that game out, and don't think it's not possible, that puts a lot of pressure. So we need a little triumvirate. We need to win. We need the Rams to lose, Bills to win, and then the Niners to kind of just finally go away and lose again. That'd be sweet.
I love that idea. Let's have the Rams.
We're there with the Niners. I will say to the Bills Mafia, if you do not get the sweep of the NFC West, you will not be a Super Bowl team. So
there you go. This is in your best interest,
for the
Buffalo.
Bills ever, if they can't beat the Rams. I'm done with
Over.
that. I'll cheer for Mahomes against them again. If they can't beat the Rams. Okay, gentlemen, that's enough talk. I think we've talked about the Cardinals forever now, it feels like, and looking forward to a good game, some lovely weather down there. Seems like everybody should like this. We're on a winning streak. We're stopping the Cards. If you made it this far, hit that like button, hit the share button. We're glad that you like the show because we know you did. You made it this far. So with that, gentlemen, what if we say, Brandon?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.